Episode 2B, Boston and Cambridge Geography, mostly Boston. My pals and I also ranged into Boston from our youngest days because it was within 2 blocks of our address. Our address was Cambridge, but I spent almost as much time in Boston. My traveling method was the subway or the bus stops. The Red Line train, now extended on both ends, previously ended at Harvard Station. I always entered the subway at Central Square Station. I would go to Washington Station, now called Downtown Crossing, for the department stores like Raymond's, Jordan Marsh, or Feline's. Near Washington Station was St. Anthony's Shrine, or the Arch Street Chapel, as we called it. There were and are priests available to hear confessions daily, and masses are celebrated one after the other every day. When I was in high school and college, pre-Vatican II, my friends and I would go often to midnight mass on Saturday night so we could sleep late Sunday morning. Another regular subway stop on the Red Line for me was Andrew Station in South Boston. From there, I would take the Rattler or the trolley car to City Point in South Boston and the ocean, Crescent Beach, and fishing from the well-used pier. Park Street Station and Washington Street Station were both downtown and the major transfer points to other bus, subway, and trolley lines. At Washington Street, we could transfer to the Green Line to get to Haymarket Square and the iconic outdoor market. Also at Washington Street, we would transfer to the Blue Line to get to Revere Beach or Suffolk Downs. Later, when Gene and I married, we would take the Blue Line to Orient Heights in East Boston and then transfer to a bus to get home to Winthrop. There were other sections of the city of Boston that were part of my life also, like Dorchester, the North End, Chinatown, Roxbury, South Boston, East Boston, the West End, Mission Hill, the South End, Beacon Hill, Jamaica Plain, Back Bay, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Charlestown, Bay Village, West Roxbury, Roslindale, Mission Hill, Reedville, Brighton, and Allston. Dorchester is a very unique section of Boston. In my time, people from various sections of Dorchester, where in Dorchester they lived, would answer St. Brendan's Parish, or St. William's, or St. Mark's, or St. Margaret's. Even Jews or Protestants would use that description. Dorchester had distinct sections such as Savin Hill, Fields Corner, Upham's Corner, Lower Mills, etc. Many of those sections were located on Dorchester Avenue, or Dort Ave for short. It was a very Hibernian and Catholic section of Boston. From the Central Square Cambridge subway station, Dorchester was a straight ride on the Red Line. Sometimes we would go to the Franklin Park Zoo in Roxbury. Later, my sister Gail would work at the zoo as an animal caretaker. Part of her job was to give little educational talks about each animal. A trip to the zoo entailed taking the Red Line from Central Square to Washington Street and doing a lot of transferring. To go to the State House, or Boston Common, or the Public Gardens, we would take the Red Line to Park Street Station and then come up on the escalator to Tremont Street and be right across the street from the Public Gardens and the Boston Common. We used buses less often than the subway. We used the River Street bus to Union Square, Brighton, and Dorothy Muriel's Bakery to buy our second-day bread and pastries. My mother and father used to use the River Street bus to go to Central Square. Those settings are where most of the following stories happened. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episode. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and perhaps refer friends who might be interested in this podcast series. Again, my thanks.